Welcome to Feminine Leadership Code Teaser. I am Shatoyia Jones Meador, number one feminine leadership consultant, skills trainer, and influence impact strategist for high achieving women in leadership. So, en route on the journey to the Feminine Leadership Code, leading up to that day, which is this month in August, you can join the community to get notified. Link above or below this video. I will be doing teaser videos to discuss the different topics that will be the focus point of Feminine Leadership Code and also pretty much be the living embodiment of why I created Feminine Leadership Code. So, today's topic is too emotional. Women are too emotional to lead, influence, and impact. Women are too emotional to hold positions of high influence and power. How does that statement make you feel? What do you think about that statement? Well, regardless of how you feel about this statement, it is used around the globe to keep women out of positions of significant power and influence. Now, let's discuss first things first. Hold on to that thought. What is the experience that you had as a woman that made you feel that womanhood was insignificant compared to manhood? In comparison to manhood, which we shouldn't compare because they complement each other, but because of the world we live in, what was the experience that made you feel that being a woman was not enough? Whether it was showing up beautiful, showing up as someone who takes pride in their appearance, showing up soft, showing up gentle, having a soft and gentle voice. I know a lot of women in leadership, the ones that I work with as clients, and also the ones that I grew up with, changed their voice even to command respect or to command a certain sense of credibility. Think back on that experience that made you believe that your essence and presence as a woman wasn't enough to protect you, wasn't enough to gain respect, wasn't enough to gain credibility, wasn't enough to gain access and to maintain a position of power and influence that was respectable. What was that experience that made you feel that you had to alter your essence as a woman for a more masculine model of leadership in order to succeed in life? Let me know what that experience was. Because I think too many times we don't share enough about those experiences, one, out of shame or guilt, and two, because maybe we just never really thought that deeply about it because it's so normalized today. If you want to succeed, you have to dilute yourself. If you are a person of African descent, you have to dilute your heritage, your accent, your culture, your hairstyles, etc. That's the messaging. If you are a woman, you have to dilute the beauty, you have to dilute the softness and become more aggressive and a little more harsh and a little more um, monotone, a little more masculine in essence, in order to rise up the ranks and to gain the respect and the credibility that you need. That's the messaging that is pushed. And part of that is from this conditioning that women are too emotional. Now, ironically, women of African descent are considered too harsh, too too aggressive, which it's just so interesting when you really stop to think about this conditioning that we have. It really doesn't make sense. But it does have a purpose. So despite it not making sense, it does have a purpose. Its purpose is to detach you from your essence so that you cannot tap into your actual power and your influence. Is to confuse you, to cause an identity confusion and fragmentation. Someone who has an identity fragment, who doesn't know who they are and is not confident in who they are, who cannot exercise um, their right to influence in the power of essence of who they are, womanhood, femininity. The person who is detached from that, who is desensitized to that side of themselves, well, guess what? You're easily manipulated. You're easily controlled. You're seeking validation. Everyone wants to belong somewhere. And if that validation comes from a position of power that is based in a masculine model, you're going to try and alter yourself to fit that model. And what that does is make it more convenient for the system to be able to break up families, to use you as another taxpayer, to put more money in the system's pockets, to take you away from familial duties, to take you from family duties, so that the system can step in that place and actually condition and raise your children, which again, it doesn't benefit you, it benefits the system. The messaging made you believe that being a woman, a mother, and prioritizing motherhood, you can't do both. The messaging is motherhood is essentially distracting and it's inconvenient. And they don't tell you it's inconvenient. They say, oh, you can't possibly do both. You'll be distracted. You can't be away from your child. You can't XYZ. And although women have done it and more for centuries, I mean, we've managed households, we've ran our husbands' careers, we've built so much without getting credit where credit is due. And part of the reason why women wanted to go into professional space was so that they can start getting credit, so they can say, no, women can do this and we've been doing this. But in that trying to gain that level of respect and credibility and prove, which we don't have to prove, but in seeking that respect and a higher level of position of influence and power, we have often lied about the desires that we actually want so that we don't lose those positions of power and respect, which includes motherhood. There's an underlying messaging that motherhood involves emotion, it involves nurturing and caring, and you can't possibly rise up on the ranks in your career if that's your disposition. Even though, once again, we've managed households, we've managed political careers, we've managed our husbands' careers over the years. For women of African descent, we've always managed family and business. That's never been a concern for us. That's in our cultures, in our blood. So, in order for you to truly walk in that and be settled in that, you have to understand the purpose behind the messaging. The purpose behind the messaging of women being too emotional is to suggest that they are too unstable to lead and influence. It is to, one moment. Okay, I had to check on my child. Okay, it is to de inspire you. It is to make sure that you are unmotivated to pursue something beyond what the system approves of, which is today, prior for Western Europeans, it was women being in the homes. And that's to essentially keep tabs on what the woman is able to do, what she's able to accomplish. Someone who has limited options and financial options is, again, easily controlled and manipulated, right? But then they realized, it would be more profitable if we allowed women to work, if we allow women to pay taxes, excuse me, to start businesses and to see their family life as no longer important and significant. And not only do they now have more taxpayers and women adding to the economic system, but they also now have taken the women, the parents out of the home. And so, who's going to do that job? Who do you think is commissioned to do that job? The system. You have given up your rightful claim, your rightful place on your throne in your family to build the economic machine that is the system that you're working in, so that you can prove that you are just as good and respectable as a man. Do you see how that sounds? It's exactly how it sounds. And yes, it is time to admit that it's okay, by the way. It's okay. We've all been there. At some point, we've all had to play the fool. I say it all the time, right? But in order to disrupt the cycle, you have to admit it. You have been tricked into believing that the pieces of you as a woman, because anger is also an emotion, which anger, frustration, and aggression, all those things are emotions that come with masculinity, but no one talks about that, right? So we got to focus. You do not need, I repeat, you do not need to transform into a model of masculinity in leadership in order to gain respect, credibility, and influence. And the Feminine Leadership Code would teach you the exactly what it sounds like, the feminine code in leadership, so that you do not have to compete with masculinity. You complement masculinity, and that in itself makes you competitive. And that's the beauty of the feminine mode. When you rest in your femininity, it's your presence, your energy, your wisdom that you bring. And that asset is what's going to be respectable. You're going to bring something completely different, fresh, innovative, creative. And as long as you stand and represent who you truly are, people will have no choice but to recognize it. You do not have to force it. You do not have to throw it in their faces. You do not have to demand it. You command it with how you show up, how you hold boundaries and space for yourself and others, how you talk to and about yourself and others, and more and most importantly, how you honor and respect every element of womanhood and what it means to be a woman and the achievements that you get from that. And being very much okay if you are not validated or respected by society. Because again, when you are looking for that, you become easily manipulated, easily controlled, and very convenient for the system that you are thinking that you're trying to fight against. So, if you want to learn more about the Feminine Leadership Code and what I have to say on the matter, there's so much more. I promise you, I'm going to break it down. It's all going down in the Secure Crown Academy community. I cannot wait to open your eyes and enlighten you to the true power that you have. Remember, no one tries to squash something that doesn't actually has power and influence. In this world, people only try to put out the flame of something that actually has power and influence. And the best thing they can do while they're working on squashing you and making sure you don't actualize your power and your influence, the best thing that they're doing right now is making sure you don't ever see it. You don't ever understand what's going on, because then it gives them time to put things in place so that you never get to see it in your lifetime. But I'm here to disrupt that process and to make sure you understand fully, practically, and spiritually your God given right to claim not just a title, but to truly own your throne in your homes, in your workplaces, and in your communities without compromising. So, to lead, influence, and impact without compromising your femininity, you can show up fully woman. And I'm going to show you how to show up as your highest self, not just show up, be yourself. We want to be our best selves. I'm going to show you how to lead, impact, and influence as your highest self without compromising your core values, your femininity, or your well being in the process. If that sounds good to you, I want to see you in the Feminine Leadership Code. Go ahead and order your book. Once you order the book for a limited time, You will get a access trial period to the Feminine Leadership Code community where you can access the live trainings, the 3-day virtual live event, which is happening this month, so you don't want to miss it. If you're loving this, you do not want to miss it. I'm going to be teaching the 3 S's of feminine leadership success using my signature Shatoyia framework for feminine leadership success. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I've already been getting such positive responses about this framework and about this curriculum and this program. And I'm just ready to see women like own femininity, like own positions of influence, and to just rest in all their feminine glory. I cannot wait. So go ahead, get your book. Once you get your book, the Feminine Leadership Code workbook, while that is on the way, you'll have access to recordings in the community while you wait for your book to arrive. And you'll also be already registered for the 3-day virtual retreat with me. There's also a workbook that is a digital version that is attached in the community for the Feminine Leadership Code so that you can also get started working on the activities before the virtual event starts. So if you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out. I cannot wait to meet you and connect with you and help you reconnect to your highest self. I'm so excited. All right, I will see y'all soon. I gotta go spend time with my baby. All right. Have a great day. I will see y'all in the next live.